And now, I just want to move to perhaps one of my last and most important points that I want to talk about in my President's update. And it certainly, to me, it ties in with all of our branches, and it's something that I want all of you to consider and how you might contribute to it. And right after our May election, the first thing I did, or first meeting I had, was with all our branch directors and all our managers, and talked about yet another initiative that the Métis Nation of Ontario needs to focus on. Certainly we've been an organization as a government of the Métis people focusing on advancing Métis rights, focusing on setting up the financial accountability that needs to be placed, focusing on delivering programs and services to our people, all as we continue to advance our self-government. Self-government is something that people are going to give to us. We need to just do it. We need to do it by being responsible for ourselves and responsible for our citizens. And that work is underway. And we've been successful on so many of those fronts, but the one area that I'm asking us all to focus on, whether you're a leader within the Métis Nation, whether you're a citizen within the Métis Nation, is to focus on our children and youth going forward. I had a discussion with our youth council yesterday when they were holding a meeting, and even them, I'm asking them for their assistance in this matter because it is something we can all help on. And so when I say I want to focus on children and youth, I'm talking about from women that are pregnant right through to young adults. That's the span I'm talking about. And so when I had our meeting with our managers and directors, and I said every one of our branches has a role to play in this. If you're in health, then we need to start talking and promoting. We've got a communications branch that is second to none, whether it's the Voyager, the website, or the communiques, etc. They need to be engaged in it. But our health branch, you need to be talking and promoting healthy living for pregnant women, understanding the consequences of fetal alcohol syndrome or smoking, healthy living, healthy eating, and preparing that child for when it comes into life to have all the best it can be from the start and not coming out from behind a situation that's related to unhealthy habits. And certainly when we move into the infancy stages, every child should be promoted and supported to be the best they can be, right from infancy on. And what particularly when they go into the education, and again education and training branch has a role to play in this, students at an early grade need to be supported and again encouraged to be the best they can be. It shouldn't be just a certain percentage that has the vision of completing high school and going on to college, post-secondary education, or into the trades. Too many students are not being encouraged young enough to know the opportunities that are out there and know the benefits that come with a high school graduation and the opportunities available if they want to go into post-secondary, whether it's colleges, university, the trades, or business, or whatever. And we need to put more emphasis on how we support those young children to dream the dream. There should not be a situation where a child doesn't aspire to at least complete grade 12 and think about beyond. And yet there are too many. Too many who are dropping out, too many that are running into addiction problems in the school system or teenage pregnancies. We need to do whatever we can do to give those students the encouragement to go on and be the best they can be. And this isn't something that has to be done by, although we will, by leaders or communities. This is something we can do on an individual basis as well. And because so often in some of those children's lives, they only need the support and encouragement from a significant other. And sometimes if the parents aren't able to do that, then that's a role where the grandparents step in and play that loving and supportive role and encouragement. And if not, an aunt or an uncle, or a neighbor or a friend. Somebody needs to play a significant role to help those children be the best they can be. And I think many of us, if you look to your communities and beyond, you probably all know somebody like this. And you can often identify them at an early age because they're not getting those supports. This isn't something that you can blame on the schools. This is something that everybody needs to take a responsibility for. And if we all put an effort and a focus on that, if we all help just one child get that encouragement to be the best they can be, you will create an intergenerational positive effect. They will succeed. They will succeed and get a good job and raise a good family of their own. This is a problem that extends beyond the Métis, but we can certainly take a leadership role and do something to create those opportunities to encourage every child to be the best they can be. And so every branch within the MNO will be looking to this to see how we can do it. The discussions we're going to be having, and I expect a positive feedback from, will include a whole bunch of institutions that people might not think about. So I use the example of setting up meetings with the banking sector. We want to be running in our Voyager ad situations of why it's so important when you have your child. You know, instead of giving them money for an iPod, give them money to create an education fund, and our ESP. Set up those encouragements so that you expect them to be going on to the higher education, and set up those RESPs so that when it's ready to go, they'll be there. And we will continue to do what we can do with bursary enhancements. We'll continue to press our governments to support for post-secondary education. But there's an obligation by the parents and those as well to do the best they can be. And we will continue to teach the children the values that don't expect everything to be given to you. There is a value of work ethics as well. You have a role to play in this as well. You need to help thinking about your future and possibly get a part-time job or whatever, save your babysitting money, whatever you need to do, but you have a role as well in those work ethics to create a better future for yourself as well. And those are fundamental values that we need to reflect on. Those were our values in the past as a people, and we need to make sure they're instilled in our generation as they go forward, the youth as they go forward. So this is something that I'm asking each of you to think about how we can contribute to that. And it can be organized with your community councils, and it can be organized in so many ways, whether it's bringing children back to the way of life, whether it's promotion of the cultural activities that many of the councils are doing. There are so many ways to engage this and give that encouragement to children to be the best they can be. It doesn't take much. If I can maybe close on one example that I had in my teaching days. I had one of my students was a student who was doing okay, certainly worked, struggled to get relatively good marks, good test scores. And then one of his, I give him one test we had one time, and he did really good, really good. He got, a high mark, like an A. And so I phoned home, and his dad answered. I identified who I was, and right away the tone in the dad's voice was, he was expecting a negative report. And so I reported that his son had just done an amazing job on a test. And clearly, although I wasn't there, I could tell by the next day when the student came to class, something had happened because he was so excited. Clearly, the father had wonderful discussion with them. Obviously, the supper at the dinner table was one of joy as opposed to discipline. And that student was just a completely different student the rest of the year. Every score had improved, put more into it. That's the power of positive reinforcement. And I'm asking each of you to do it. Thank you.